I welcome you back to the Steve Malzberg Show. Let me say hello to our friend, Noel Sheppard. And it must be time for Malzberg's Media Madness. I know it's not the bottom of the second hour. It's the bottom. I know it's not the bottom of the second hour. It's the, I'm all confused. Yeah, bottom of the third hour. And it's also not Friday. It's Wednesday. But we're all messed up for the holiday. Noel, I thank you for accommodating us. How are you, sir?
Good. How are you, sir?
I'm good. Associate Editor Noel Sheppard of Newsbusters.org. And let me start. Could I start with two of my favorite people in the whole wide world? I mean, you're one of my favorite people in the whole wide world, and since I started with you, let's go. But you're really a favorite. Let me take my tongue out of my cheek here. Let's start with Alec Baldwin, and I think we all got some good news today, which you wrote about at Newsbusters, and that is Alec Baldwin says he's going to fly to Russia to try to interview Edward Snowden.
Yeah, he wants to be the new Dennis Rodman, and how can you blame him?
Well, Dennis Rodman says he wants the Nobel Peace Prize.
No, it's really, well, hey, he's just entitled to the Nobel Peace Prize, as was Barack Hussein Obama.
Just for being Dennis Rodman, like Barack Obama got it just for being Barack Obama.
Yeah, I mean, you could make the case that when Obama got the Nobel Peace Prize, he had done as little for peace as Dennis Rodman. So,
that's
crazy
a good
stuff.
point.
Yeah,
well, look,
he wants to interview Snowden. It is interesting.
Well,
yeah, go ahead.
No, I was going to say he's trying to get WNYC here in New York, I think, a National Public Radio affiliate, to send him.
Yeah, well, I mean, Snowden at this point, where's he going to end up?
I don't know. I don't know. Maybe in Alec Baldwin's, abode somewhere.
I just realized where he's going to end up. He's going to be on Al Jazeera. They're going to give him his own show.
No, you just went to my second favorite person. Don't go there yet. Don't go there yet. We know who did wind up on Al Jazeera. Maybe you're right, though.
I do.
So Alec Baldwin. And I didn't plan on discussing this, but let's just briefly touch on this.
Why not?
You broke the story, I think it was last weekend or whatever, when at the Gandolfini funeral, and the horrific tweet that he put out against the male online writer, where he said he would hunt him down. He called him a queen. And then he claims Queen had nothing to do with homosexuality or in any way derogatory as far as that goes, but also tweeted, and correct me if I'm wrong, that I'd put my foot up your blank, but you'd like it too much, which is also apparently derogatory towards gays.
Yeah, there's no sexual content in that at all. Look, this whole affair with Alec Baldwin, against the backdrop of what happened to Paula Deen, tells us how much the media are willing to give a pass or defend those that they like versus those that they don't. I mean, certainly what Paula Deen did by comparison to what Alec Baldwin did was nothing. What did Paula Deen do? A Southern woman admitted that 20 years ago or 30 years ago, when she was living in the South, she used to use the N-word. Oh, how horrible. But yet she loses her entire career as a result. But in real time, just days ago, Alec Baldwin makes tremendously homophobic attack on a British reporter, and the media are largely, okay. I mean, we did a study at the MRC where we found that in the 3 days following the Paula Deen revelations, there was something like 4 or 5 times more coverage of what she did by the ABC, CBS, and NBC. And I may be getting the numbers wrong, but it was a huge disparity. By comparison, Alec Baldwin. Alec Baldwin's in the in crowd. He's allowed to do and say whatever he wants. I mean, I'm not sure we should be shocked by it anymore.
No, and you tweeted this out. I retweeted it from Newsbusters, and then you said, I said, is he finally going to suffer the consequences of his actions? And you wrote something to the effect, or tweeted out something to the effect of, no, he'll be rewarded for it.
Be rewarded for it. You know, Capital One's going to give him probably extend his contract. You know.
It's not only this. It's not only this. No, I mean this obvious, in my view, gay slur. But, you know, allegedly calling a black photographer Rodney, allegedly calling another one a coon, you know, grabbing a photographer, getting thrown off the plane. I mean, this cat has 9 lives, and I don't know that anything. I don't know what he could do that they wouldn't joke about, and Glad forgave him for this, but NBC doesn't have to forgive him for this, and Capital One doesn't have to forgive him for this, and all the other the history that he has, and the tape with his daughter. I mean, how is he so charmed?
I don't know. I really don't. I mean, at this point in time, he's more covered in Teflon than Bill Clinton ever was.
Yeah, no, that's absolutely.
I mean, you could make the guess he's more covered in Teflon than Obama. I'm not sure Obama could have gotten away with this. So I don't know. I don't get it.
No, I don't get it either. All right, now let's listen to cut number 29. Some of you folks may remember this doozy. Cut 29. 24. Sorry, 24, as previously stated.
I think if I've learned anything over the past year, it's that facts matter, and we shouldn't be afraid to have tough and honest conversations and maybe even argue a little bit when there's a lot at stake. And yes, Governor Sununu, I am talking to you. Up next for me, I'm going to continue to focus on the 25 girls that we serve. We send girls to college with my foundation. Continue to focus, too, on good journalism, examining the critical issues that our country faces, from jobs to poverty, and focusing on the people who have stories to tell in this country, and often those stories don't get told.
Well, Soledad O'Brien, as you wrote about at Newsbusters, Mr. Noel Sheppard, is joining Al Jazeera.
Al Jazeera. I mean, this apparently is where failed CNN commentators go to die. It's Al Jazeera, and and frankly, I think it's fitting. I mean, her career on CNN was largely based around espousing anti-American views, and now she's going to be on an anti-American network. I think it's a good symmetry for her. I think she'll do just fine. She's going to be able to say all of the awful things about her country that she wants now, and be paid handsomely, and probably not have many detractors or critics.
No, you're absolutely right, and I thought you'd appreciate the that was from her farewell from her last broadcast.
Farewell.
Where, facts matter.
Facts matter.
Oh,
yeah,
boy.
They never mattered to her.
Right, and you wrote that up, and you documented so much of that over the many years of Soledad O'Brien, who had 2 incarnations in the morning. She was O'Brien and O'Brien, and then she was the last show that she did. And the thing about CNN, just to go off the track a second, I think they're reincarnating themselves, or they're reinventing themselves in their own image. In other words, I don't see them changing. No. I don't see anything changing. They're just changing the names of the shows, adding a person here, Crossfire, right. Yes, but they are still the CNN, in my view, that has failed.
Well, and you can see what they did even with Crossfire. I mean, you could make the case maybe Van Jones is a good personality there, because he's not a total ideologue. He actually will say bad things about Democrats and bad things about the current president.
That's because he's a communist and everybody's bad to him.
No, and that's right. I mean, he's to the left of Obama. That's at all possible, and he'll speak that up. But Stephanie Cutter is a total shill. This is a total ideologue who's basically going to be there speaking White House talking points. I mean, why not bring in David Axelrod and Robert Gibbs too? I mean, it's pathetic. I'm very happy for S.E. Cupp. It's going to be interesting to see how Newt does in that type of an environment. And he's never done it. He does a lot of TV, but he does it from exclusively a pundit position where he's being asked questions. If they're going to use the old Crossfire format, if you recall that format, and I know you do, is that they're actually asking questions of their guests rather than exclusively pontificating. So it's going to be interesting to see how Newt does in that role. It should be fascinating. But Stephanie Cutter, there was a lot of chatter about her. I mean, this is just having someone from the administration on talking administration talking points, and why CNN felt the need. There's a lot of people out there that could have spoken very, very well from the left without having not just such a tremendous tie, almost an umbilicus tie to the White House, but there really is no difference in her patter than in Obama or Carney's patter. So why have her on?
I can't answer that, and I couldn't agree with you more, other than to say what I've already said. All right, let's move on, and let's go to Chris Matthews. And this was, I don't know, one of the admissions of the century. This is cut number 13. Let's give a listen to Chris Matthews.
Democrats don't really believe in border enforcement, do they?
Look,
do they?
I don't know about other Democrats.
Do Democrats care about border enforcement?
The leadership understands.
Do they believe in border enforcement?
A lot less than Republicans.
Less than Republicans, but enough
Why
so
don't
they're
they
willing
believe
to
in
put
it?
up $30
Why do they believe in illegal immigration, Democrats?
Because right now it's not even that big of a problem.
Why do they believe in it?
Well, I'm not going to defend.
Yes, you are. You're basically admitting. Do you think Republicans are?
Chris,
do you think Nancy Pelosi and the Democratic Party is concerned about illegal immigration?
Mildly.
Okay. You are covering. Let's let this go.
All right, that's Matthews talking to Jonathan Alter, and saying, why do Democrats favor illegal immigration? I couldn't believe what I was hearing.
It really was an amazing statement. I think back in 2010, Matthews had made a comment on the air saying that he thought Democrats didn't want to stop illegal immigration. But this is taking it a big step further, saying they actually believe in illegal immigration. And as that segment continued, he shared numbers from the Cook Political Report concerning Republicans and Hispanics, and how, and I don't have the numbers off the top of my head, but something like 75% of Republican districts right now have less than 10% minorities in them. Okay, and that in reality, as a result, and they have very, very little Hispanic in them. So as a result, and he was making the case for why it would be insane for a member of the House to be voting for immigration reform, because they're going to get killed at the polls. They're going to get killed, you know, in 2014 if they do it. And then he comes out and he says, and why would they do it anyway when they all believe, probably rightly, that the Democrats are not going to secure the border? So why I mean, it was an amazing, I don't remember whether this was Tuesday, I think this was yesterday. It was really an amazing statement. It was interesting also to watch how he's grilling Jonathan Alter, and Jonathan Alter doesn't want to admit that, well, yeah, no, I mean, Democrats don't believe in any of this. Nobody wants to admit this. So this was really opening up a very, very interesting closet full of skeletons. I mean, it was really quite extraordinary.
Yes. All right. Let's move on to this cut from Steve Roberts, husband of Cokie, talking about what's missing from TV newsrooms. And they were talking about, it was CNN's reliable sources. Again, all these stories Noel did and wrote up and provided the sound to on newsbusters.org. Here is cut 27.
Yes, and here's another thing that this coverage reveals. What's missing often in TV newsrooms, there are plenty of gays. There are very few people of faith and very few evangelical Christians who, in their own beliefs, would be against gay marriage. And this is always...
Just to clarify, you're not saying all people of faith are against same-sex marriage.
No, not at all. But I'm saying that if you did a survey of any newsroom in Washington, the number of people of deep faith who oppose gay marriage would be minuscule, and therefore you wouldn't necessarily go into a newsroom and find the same kind of people that you would in terms of gays.
Another stunning statement.
Shocking. This was, I mean, Steve is, I've always felt, is further to the left than Cokie.
I agree.
This was amazing, and later on he actually kind of stumbled and said, when it comes to same-sex marriage, that people of faith have the more normal view. And I'm like, whoa, yeah, this is, now, you do know that Cokie is also, I think that they're Catholic, because Cokie has spoken about her faith on ABC's This Week. So I think that they both are people of faith. And this was another cat out of the bag moment. I mean, this was very, very surprising for him to just come out and the way he said it, he said, you know, there are a lot of gays in newsrooms. There aren't many people of faith. Wow. I mean, I'm sure when you saw that, I don't know where you were when you first saw that. Shocking stuff. And he's right.
I was in my basement. I rely on you to get me all this stuff most of the time.
Well, what was interesting is Howard didn't disagree with him, And it was Terrence Smith from PBS was on. Terrence didn't disagree.
Right.
And Jane Hall from American University was on. She didn't disagree. Terrence and Jane are both serious libs, and they didn't disagree. So, you know, what was interesting is I was wondering, this was Howard's last show on CNN, because now he's moving over to Fox.
Right.
And there were a lot of, let's say, conservative moments that occurred on this show. And I was wondering whether this was somewhat intentional, that he was, you know, conceivably letting people know, Fox know, hey, this is the kind of program I'm now going to be comfortable doing. Because I don't think we would have seen this a month ago on his show.
Right, I agree. And maybe Roberts wants a gig too. Now, one more really unbelievable remark, and this one is from Andrew Sullivan, and talking about the gay marriage issue and how far gays should push it or whatever, and what their reaction should be to the Supreme Court decisions. Here's cut 25.
I don't want anybody's religious liberty. I want that to be defined as maximally as possible. We do not threaten, and should never threaten, the conscientious beliefs of those who disagree with us. We should welcome their freedom, because it's our freedom too. And so I'm very concerned, actually, that we may become intolerant of people who believe homosexuality is still sinful. And we have to live by our own.
Do you want to be tolerant of their intolerance?
Yes, because I think in the end that's the only way to solve it. I mean, I'm a Christian. I really believe in the end on this matter, you up the ante and start calling them bigots and trying to coerce them, you're as bad as they were to us. And we must never do that.
Boy, you gave us 3 wows this week, Noel, and that's the third of the 3 wows.
That's the third of the 3. I'm not sure which is the biggest wow here. This was a serious wow for me, and it was, you know, we on the right, we forget that there was a point in time where Andrew Sullivan was actually a very reasonable, I'm not sure he was ever really conservative, but he was a reasonable Republican. And I think that for whatever reason, George W. Bush drove him crazy. And he moved to the left as a result of George W. Bush. And he makes it, actually, he does make a comment, by the way, during that interview, that same interview with Fareed Zakaria. He comments about how George W. Bush conceivably was a big part of the reason why gay people started to think about same-sex marriage.
Right.
Because originally, when he first posited the idea, he said that he was excoriated from people on the left and people on the right and the whole gay community, because the gay community at the time was very, very antithetic to gay marriage. I mean, excuse me, to marriage in general. They were totally opposed to marriage. So this was a rare moment. I haven't seen, it's been a long time since I've seen Andrew Sullivan say something that I thought was, wow, it's very compelling, very interesting. I'm very pleased that he said it. But at the same point, I think that he's kidding himself. He's kidding himself, because I think that much of the homosexual community and much of the media that adore the homosexual community has already castigated those that don't, that legitimately disagree with same-sex marriage for religious reasons.
Well, Noel, and as did, and I'll have to end it on this note, as did the majority opinion from Anthony Kennedy on the Supreme Court regarding DOMA, as pointed out by Justice Scalia. Noel, have a great holiday. I thank you for accommodating us. We'll speak to you next week.